Drake really said, "You're a lesbian girl, me too." Now, bruh, I know you fucking lying. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse podcast. Hey, everybody, it's Mr. Fox of the I Refuse podcast. You know, I got my Pat Say Jack mic on, so I'm about to talk my shit. I waited all weekend to do a new episode. Pretty much almost a week to the day that I last uploaded an episode. I want to start with Certified Lover Boy. I'll get into Donda later, but I wanted to start with the most recent news. Um, Went back and listened to Certified Lover Boy twice because I really wanted. The first time I was just like, okay, this is new music. Put it on while I write, do other stuff for the podcast, for the social media. Then I thought I'd revisit, away from Donda, away from other music that was out, because the big argument or the big discussion right now is CLB versus Drake. CLB versus Donda, and this Kanye Drake beef. Which I'll get into, but first I'll do the Certified Lover Boy album first. Give it about a 7 out of 10. As somebody that has been a fan of Drake's and a bigger fan of Kanye's for the longest time, I wanted to approach Certified Lover Boy separately from Donda, like I said, which is why I went back a second time. The first listen, I instantly loved about 3 songs. Of course, it was Poppy's Home. What was the other one? The other one was Love All with Jay-Z and the Rick Ross and Lil Wayne record. Then I realized, okay, when I got to the last track during the first listen, I was like, okay, this is coming off like More Life Part 2. And I even said it on my personal Instagram page. It's just like, okay, 21 songs, they're all over the place. You got some WizKid-esque type of music. You have some ballads. You have solo features. You do a couple of trap records. You do typical hip hop records. You start the album with a long intro that goes through like 2 or 3 different scenes. Much like Views, much like, well, like I said, More Life. I was just like, I walked away the first time. I was like, I don't know if this holds up with like his previous stuff. It's clear that this stage in his life, he's kind of just, I want to say, diarrhea, where it's just like he's going to unload all this stuff. Now, mind you, Drake, the last 4 or 5 years, has kind of stepped away from studio albums for a little bit, did the mixtape thing, and then in between albums or mixtapes, he would drop a couple of one-off records. And, then he released a couple of an album of unreleased stuff or lesser known stuff, and then he did the Dark Lane demo tape thing, and I was just like, okay, this is okay. But for me, like, to come back with an official studio album, I feel like, what are you saying here, right? What are you saying? Is an actual album? Are we, is this really going to be something, place another benchmark in your career, right? Now, mind you, this album came out after his what was it? His Billboard Impact Award. I was like, okay, he doesn't really have to prove himself at this point. A good 11 plus year run. Okay, but I with the second listen, I was like, okay, maybe I'll go back, and then I'll do and come away with something different. And I was like, okay. After the second listen, I kept about 13 songs, right? Champagne Poetry. I had to write all this shit out. Champagne Poetry, decent opening. It's not Tuscan leather and it's not Over My Dead Body, but it's cute. I was like, okay, not bad, not bad. I enjoy those kind of oblong intros where he kind of starts with like a doo-wop R&B laid back feel, which I think back to Take Care, which is my all-time favorite Drake album, where he kind of sets the tone the first half with like some down-tempo stuff. Overall, CLB is a mid-tempo album. There isn't a banger or like a big radio hit or a couple of standouts or something that will get a stadium jumping. But like I say, like at this point, Drake doesn't need to do any of that. You kind of still, as a person that listens to his music, you kind of we're hoping that he exit on a high. I love Poppy's Home. Can't go wrong with Charlie Wilson with it. Felt like I was wearing like a Gap Band Jerry Curl wig, and the the glittery cowboy hat. Just listening to him, you can't go wrong with Charlie Wilson on a rap record. The Girls Want Girls. I was listening to it. I was like, okay, this is funny. This is like show us. Drake showing us his corny, cheesy side, which he's known for. Like, while Drake is a decent rapper, I think what people resonate or liking him to is more of an artist. Like somebody that you can't really put in one particular box. They just kind of go all over the place. And, while he's good with the flow and he's talented with his knack and his eye for what fits where musically, like he doesn't stand out to me as somebody that a rapper, lyricist, really like a Kendrick or a J. Cole. But nevertheless, Girls Want Girls. I mean, even the line, you say you're a lesbian, girl, me too. Sir. Sir. Not sure how that works. Like, where are we going right now? But it's one of those punchlines that is quintessential Drake. Like, he's on here for most of the record, and then like every once in a while he'll throw in something that's comical and kind of mind blowing. Girls Want Girls kind of reminds me when I was listening to the actual music in the background in the track and his flow to it. It kind of reminds me of Emotionless from Scorpion, which is one of my favorites from that album. Love All. That was easily one of my favorites, aside from the Jay-Z feature. This May Be a Treat, and this is what Jay-Z's 1, 2, 3rd feature on the Drake album. It would have been his 4th. Him and Kanye were supposed to be on Views on, I believe, Pop Style, but I guess they didn't grant the permission for that. Um, but, it's cute. It's very clear, and it has been clear to me for at least 5 or 6 years. Jay-Z doesn't need to rap anymore, and it's not because he doesn't want to, he just doesn't have to, and it's clear that, like, what he's rapping about and what he has been rapping about since Holy Grail, well, actually take a step further, Kingdom Come, is that, he is a businessman, and it's more about family now and building wealth. Jay-Z himself, he's in my top 10. I had to redo my list, my top 50, and just move around a lot of people. Jay-Z is not, he may or may not be in my top 5. I think Eminem or 3 Stacks rounds out my top 5. Rakim is never leaving the top position. But, listening to Jay-Z on this one, it's very clear, it's more directed and more pointed at this point, that, his power and his position and what he's able to do, which is worlds better or worlds improved from 10 years ago, and where he is right now. I think he may or may not be done with Kanye. I know he makes a feature on Donda, which was nice. It's definitely given me hope for a Watch the Throne 2. Still listening to Watch the Throne, the first one. Fair trade, fast-paced flow with some gems, losing friends and finding peace. That line, among all lines on this album, resonates with me. As you get into your 30s and then, like, past your mid-30s, you realize losing friends sometimes is a blessing, or even realizing that they weren't friends to begin with. And, the line resonates as far, for me, with Drake, in that he's in a point in his life right now where he is focused on his son, has done the fame thing, has done the click thing, the money thing, and is kind of stepping into what life is really about. There's more to life than having like 15, 20, 100 people around you at all times. And Fair Trade, I think, is him coming to a crossroads with accepting that. I like it. Nice little life introspection record. It's a keeper because, it's Drake and Travis Scott. Can't go wrong with that. TSU, nice little vibe record, which I like that side of Drake a lot. Something to put on for an evening drive somewhere. And then I like those kind of records where Drake is like this with the flow and the feeling in the first half of the record. Then the second half, he kind of ramps it up. On my way to make this dough. Those kind of records where he just switches it up. I'm like, okay. So that's why TSU and Fair Trade is a keeper for me. Yebba's Heartbreak. So about Yebba, which is Abby backwards. Yebba's real name, government name, is Abby. I first started hearing about Yebba in 2016, 2017, I believe, when she was kind of showing up on like these little live studio performance videos on YouTube. kind of came up on her around Ed Sheeran and Sam Smith, and I was like, ooh, she has a really pretty tone. Runs like nobody's business, and it's there's not enough I can say about it. So to hear her on this album, even though the placement of the track kind of throws me off, what I like about it is that a tip off to Drake. What he's been doing this kind of thing since More Life, where he'll have all these records where it's him in the forefront on the album or the playlist or the mixtape, but he'll like throw in a solo feature where it's just the feature on the record, and they'll sing, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. More Life, Sampa, 4422. I was like, okay, I like it. So that's a keeper. No Friends in the Industry, typical record, choppy flow, frenetic pace. Other music is the kind of stuff that I like. The knife talk, gotta feed the streets. Project Pat, which y'all need to be discussing him more. And good looking on the sample. It's a nice contrast between Drake and 21 Savage, who has like a laid back flow. That was one of the more on time features where the artist actually meshes real well with the music. Jay-Z does really well all the time on his features. 21 Savage is another feature that's on time with the music. The flow fits the music very well. Another reason why that's a keeper. 7 a.m. on Bridal Path, clear Kanye West diss record. Especially the line about send your location instead of a tantrum on social media. Something to that effect, which, if you've been following Kanye West, as long as I have, or even the last 6 or 7 years, thrives best off of being public with his antics, whether it's at his shows on his tour or that 6-month-long listening party at that stadium. Prior to this, they made pretty good music together. Kanye was on More Life, on Glow. He did some production on Thank Me Later, and I think he did some production on Nothing Was the Same. And it was some pretty iconic stuff. Aside from that, Drake's flow is what I enjoyed the best on his albums. And I like that he doesn't stay in one lane. This is a pro for the album. I like that he uses his platform to showcase other artists. Yebba's on this album on her own. She has a track by herself. Sam had a track by himself on More Life. Race My Mind, I like the thumpy beat. It's simple as hell and a little aggressive, but it gives me, Find Your Love from Thank Me Later, which is one of my favorites. Let's see, You Only Live Twice, aside from having Lil Wayne and Rick Ross on the same record, it's that kind of flow and that kind of beat that I get into. I mean, R&B Drake is a little heavy on this album. The rap is what I'm here for and which I enjoyed the most out of Drake. The Remorse, which is a great closing. I put it up there with March 14th. It doesn't really give you anything new at this point. By the end of the album, you kind of walk away with, okay, this is mid-tempo. It doesn't really elevate, doesn't really give you anything surprising, doesn't really give you anything new. But it's cute. Like I said, 21 songs is a bit much, but I don't know. Like, at some point, you kind of gotta you kind of gotta pinpoint your strengths and your weaknesses, right? Like Drake, if we want to go back, I'm gonna go back to Scorpion, right? Where he has 2 discs of material. First disc is hip hop, second disc is R&B. And for the most part, like, that's another album where it could have been stripped down to maybe about 15 songs. He had, enough of sampled bass songs to like really make just one disc. But I guess he felt the need to make an all R&B record over here and then an all hip hop record over here. It was cute, but damn, it was long. But CLB, for me, it's not the worst Drake record. It's definitely a couple of notches above Views. For me, Take Care is first, and then Nothing Was the Same, then Thank Me Later. If you're reading this, it's not too late. More Life, CLB, Views, and Scorpion is at the bottom. No, Scorpion before Views. It's a little too mid-tempo, the CLB. Okay, so why not In the Bible, right? Could be the placement, but it throws me off with each listen. Not sure what it's supposed to say or tell me. Way Too Sexy, look. Besides the Right Said Fred sample is feature Overkill. The first feature, he's on the album twice. You didn't necessarily need both Future and Young Thug on the same record. You honestly could have gave Young Thug his own feature alongside you, or just a solo interlude or something. When I think of when you have 2 other rappers on your album, right, on the same song, you either just give them their shine, like Lil Wayne did with Tech Nine and Andre 3000. Unexpected. It's just the interlude, but it's banging, right? The Right Said Fred sample was a little bit much, and then on top of that, replicating it and making it the chorus, doubly annoying. In Too Deep, I'm over the mumble trap thing at this point with Sacrifices, which I like trap rappers on piano keys. I don't know why, but I do. But you got enough Migos out here for that. Like, you don't need to keep rehashing or revisiting it for every album post if you're reading this. In Too Deep, while this is one of the better Future features on the album, not paying it any I'm Too Sexy any mind, it doesn't necessarily make it a keeper. By this point in the record, I'm kind of over the trap mumble thing. Life Is Good should have been the end-all be-all of that era in Drake's career. It could be that he had a lot of one-off records, features between albums, but revisiting or bringing it along on the album out of nowhere, it's a bit overkill. It's like, do like that on a one-off and show us something different. Pipe Down doesn't do anything for me. It's literally the Ratchet Happy Birthday of the album. And for those of you who know where Ratchet Happy Birthday was, thank me later. Fountains, Drake could have left this off the record. Isn't always a good mesh when Drake goes into this kind of lane. If anything, he could have just gave that whole track to the girl that's featured on that song, instead of trying to make it a Rick James, Tina Marie type of duet. Drake, please. Get Along Better. Like Scorpion, this album is a little too mid-tempo and ballad heavy. He was okay when he sprinkled some of the singing on Take Care, but as time went on, he decided to expand on that. Get Along Better, just, yeah, you leave that behind. IMY2. So, this Kid Cudi feature, totally left field for me. So I was like, okay, what's this gonna give me? So when it came on, I was like, okay, this is more like Kid Cudi featuring Drake. It's like Drake went to like the Kids See Ghosts movie, because you know Kanye loves to make everything an experience, and was like, you know, I want to stay here a little while. And then this song came out of that visit. It doesn't really give me anything. Kid Cudi doing what Kid Cudi does, and I'm not 100% like a Kid Cudi stan. I mean, he's good for what he does, and I know people. I'm friends with people that love him. It's definitely something you would play if you were stoned or already like or on your way to being it. But for CLB and for I don't know what the message was or the theme Drake had in mind. I don't know. But I definitely at this point in the album I was getting the feeling that Drake was just in the studio with a whiteboard and was just throwing whatever stuck at the whiteboard at this point. Definitely knee deep in filler at this point, which is a shame because, you know, Kid Cudi's good. Like Kid Cudi, when you think of somebody that's unique, very talented, and somebody that doesn't get discussed enough as to the spectrum that is hip hop. Like when you think of its beginnings to where it is now and what he's added, like he doesn't get discussed enough. But when it comes to CLB, doesn't really give me a lot. So throwing that off. Fucking fans, self-explanatory. There is no exception to what I was saying about the whiteboard in the studio. Pros overall, the album. Now I rate the album 7.5 out of 10. The pros, it's diverse. Features add a little something, reminds me of TML. It's fun, funny, campy, cheesy, corny, all the things I've come to expect from Drake. The tone is lighter and playful, which I like. I don't come to Drake for a Tupac or a Nas level kind of album. Which, by the way, the fact that y'all hoes paid Nas dust this year, I'm going to get into that after I review this album. Now, if you're coming to Drake for something that like goes over your head after the first couple of listens, or the kind of lines that are supposed to teach you something that you can chew on and come back and be like, oh shit, that was profound, this isn't the album for you. You know, Drake still has remnants of the Nothing Was the Same, where he was just bam, 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 bam with the flow, with the rapping, the storytelling, and just picking the best production for the album. You know, those are the pros for me. Cons, again, a little too long. You know, Giveon's a cute 1, 2, 3 songs. I enjoyed him on Dark Lane's demo tapes, but I didn't need him a second time. Now, switching gears a little bit, I listened to Donda twice last week. Because I'm obligated to do so because I am a Kanye fan. I've been a fan of his since College Dropout. I do admit that as he got to Yeezus, I was like, okay, it's gonna take me a little while longer and a couple of repeat listens of his albums to really get what's going on. Nevertheless, I listened to Donda all the way through the first time, and I was like, he's between two worlds now. Like, still the Kanye that's rapping, but also the Sunday service thing, which isn't bad, but like, if just the fact that it wasn't explicit, I'm like, how the hell did we go from Life of Pablo and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy to the Kmart version of Kanye? And when I say Kmart version, I mean this is like when you would go back in the day in like the 90s, early 2000s, when you weren't 18 yet, you couldn't buy the explicit version of an album. But you still wanted to get the album. You had to go to Kmart or Walmart to get the amended version.
Damn, nigga.
Which means you're not getting everything. And you kind of had to wait until you got to middle or high school in class and borrow the explicit version from a senior or an older person who had an older brother who was old enough to get the explicit version of the album. I was like, okay. Notwithstanding that, I still put it on. It was nice to see Jay-Z on the album again. Like I said earlier, it's giving me hope for Watch the Throne Part 2. So I listened to it before the Baby's verse was able to get cleared. And by that point, I was just like, okay, it's clear the record label's hand was forced because, you know, the listening party was going on too long. The demand was pretty high, even though a lot of people were just kind of writing Kanye off at this point anyway, because of how he was acting publicly. Like the MAGA thing, slavery is a choice, the whole Kardashian thing, just a lot. And, you know, the Donda thing, the Donda album, or the idea, the concept of it had been in the atmosphere for years. You know, his mother did die back in 2007. This will be his send-off. This will be his last album. So, like everybody else, the opening track was kind of creepy. But then when I got the background to it, you know, because Selena Johnson is the voice that's doing the chant and the meaning behind it, I was like, oh, this is set to his mother's heartbeat before she passed. Still creepy. Love Selena Johnson. Big fan of hers. I've been a fan of hers since chapter 1. Okay, I'm gonna do a second listen. First listen to the album, I was just like, okay, this is, again, long as hell. A lot going on. But the last track, I think it's like 10 and a half minutes. I was like, I like that. He essentially has all his features close out on this long track. And it's a gospel track. I was like, okay, not too bad. Out of all of Kanye's records, Donda is a throwaway for me. There's probably one or two tracks I take away from it, which is not typical for me. I think when I look back at his previous albums, I probably took away 4 or 5 from Yeezus. I didn't take that many from Ye. I didn't take that many from Kids See Ghosts. I took maybe about 6 or 7 from Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, maybe a good 6 from Life of Pablo. And then, anything from 808s and Heartbreaks and previous, that's a whole nother video. Like, there are no fillers on any of those albums. But yeah, like, I, like the rest of y'all, don't know what to make Kanye. I don't really understand this whole beef thing. I mean, why are we beefing with people younger than us? If in fact that's what you want to call a beef. I mean, you're talking to somebody that came from like Tupac and Biggie, LL Cool J versus Ice-T, LL Cool J versus Kool Moe Dee, and putting the beef on records, right? The turning point was Tupac and Biggie. That was a whole mess. But this is before social media. And talking to a good girlfriend of mine about it yesterday. And, I'm not cool. I'm not cool with Drake releasing the Kanye track featuring Andre 3000. He could have stopped the record at the end of Kanye West's contribution on the track, left Andre 3000 out of it because what Andre 3000 raps about is more substantial than this beef, which technically isn't a beef. Like, you're going at the core, but really Pusha T was the one that did it, even though we know that Kanye was the one who spoke about it. It's like your son's like 3 or 4 years old at this point. And, Andre 3000, non-problematic, is over here playing his flute, walking from gas station to gas station, minding his business, blesses us, the culture and the universe, with top-notch bars. The man raps in color. Like, he really, gives us more than enough in less than 2 minutes. More than enough in less than 32 bars. And he doesn't bother anybody. And for the record, 3 Stacks is in my top 5. That's well and above and outside of Outkast. But if I put him up against Big Boy, who too also is a great MC, Andre 3000 is higher for me, because he has more than one flow. B, his storytelling is crazy. C, the metaphors, the lyricism, off the hook. And he has a rhythm that goes in different directions. No 2 features are the same, and he diversifies and grows each time. Anytime he's listed, or even when he's not listed, he's not always listed as the feature on the back of the jewel case. But the moment I hear him, I'm like, wait a minute. And then by the time I realize it, it's over, and I have to go back. I'm like, you could listen to a whole album, 16, 17, 18 tracks, or 21, 25 tracks, but let Andre 3000 have one feature, 32 bars or less. about a minute and a half. See, there's a reason why when he's a feature, he is either the opening feature, think International Players Anthem, or he is the closing. Think of 16 on God Forgives I Don't, the Rick Ross album, or think of the interlude on the Carter 5. There's a reason why he's the opening or the closing. Never the middle. Hell, even doing the track himself. Because it's Andre 3000. But Andre 3000 was an innocent bystander in this. Like, you just don't want to match the eye for the eye, right? And I realize that where Drake and Kanye are at this stage in their career, they're too powerful and too rich to really go about it how they want to go about it. I was talking to I was talking to my girlfriend, and she said Kanye started it first, and I was like, you're right, he did, but it's like 4 years later. And what are we really doing here? When I put Donda up to Certified Lover Boy, there are a lot more moments on Certified Lover Boy that places it slightly higher above Donda for me. Like, both of these are week releases in their individual catalogs, right? But where we are right now, CLB kind of does it for me a little bit more. Kanye and his PR, going back to your childhood home with DaBaby and Marilyn Manson, one who's an outright homophobe, and the other who has a multitude of sexual assault allegations against him. It's like, bro, who is on your team? Like, but Donda as a whole, it's a misstep for me. Hopefully that's the only one. Production wise, he's kind of fallen off as far as when he was doing that the 7-song album series. It was a misstep for Nas. It was a misstep with Tiana Taylor. By the way, the fact that y'all were dry heaving and hyperventilating for a new Drake and a new Kanye, while simultaneously paying Nas dust, y'all make me sick.
And that's for real.
Your hoes make me sick. Because while, yes, Nas has a legacy, is notoriously well known for being the worst, other people's opinions, not mine, being the worst beat picker. So for Nas, to have your own record label after building such an influential and monumental legacy. Nas is in my top 5. Nas is in my top 3, matter of fact. It's Rakim, Tupac, and Nas in that order. Nas has, I'm not even going to acknowledge the album, that 7-track album he did with Kanye. Lost Tapes 2, amazing. King's Disease, the first one, was okay. There was a weak midsection on that album that just didn't do it for me. It was a waste of Charlie Wilson on that one song, but it was nice to see him reunite with The Firm. It was nice to hear Foxy Brown again, which, by the way, y'all will stop paying Foxy Brown dust. Y'all know damn well she's the only suitable competition for Lil' Kim for verses. Lil' Kim, if you're listening, Nicki Minaj is not answering the phone. You need to get with somebody that came up in that same era, bury that hatchet with Foxy Brown, and get that verses going, okay? King's Disease, the first one, okay. Cute little welcome to back form for Nas. But King's Disease 2, oh, Nas literally outdid himself. Outdid himself by way, of outdoing not only his previous album, but his last two or three. King's Disease 2 is his best album since Life is Good. Life is Good, I still listen to that. Now, King's Disease 2, better selection of songs, better production. He also managed to get Lauryn Hill on time in the studio. And she's rapping again. Hopefully he took it a step further and signed her to Mass Appeal, but one can hope. Because whether you agree with me or you don't, the culture needs Lauryn Hill to be rapping again. Needs her back in the studio making albums. Give up this bygone notion or your hatred with the industry. There's nothing wrong with having a suitable follow-up to that first album. It's never too late. But he outdid himself with King's Disease too. High replay value, looking back, Nas doesn't really have the best track record. I mean, his first three albums, great. Nostradamus, ugh. Very spotty after that. Godson, Stillmatic, great. Streets Disciple, decent. Hip Hop is Dead, great. Life is Good, great. But Nas isn't known for antics, you know what I mean? Still non-problematic, still sticks in the confines of what makes hip-hop great. Very diverse with his flow and his storytelling, can't be beat. And Nas will never leave my top 5 as long as I'm alive. So with that, y'all should be sick of yourselves for paying King's Disease to dust. But I will say that now that Donda and Certified Lover Boy are out the way, we can look forward to Kendrick Lamar's official album coming out soon. Songs have been filed with ASCAP. Oh, he's coming. His one single with Baby King is cute. It's something to keep, to wet our tongues. But it's not what I'm looking for. I need to know what Kendrick is working on for his last album with TDE, which, by the way, what the fuck is going on over there at TDE?
What the fuck really going on right now?
SZA hasn't dropped the sophomore album. Come Through, to me, would be her sophomore album, even though they say it was material pre-control. But, TDE's got this stronghold to where they're not letting her release her second album. She had Hit Different, which was cute. Good Days, which was good. She did the feature on Kiss Me More with Doja, which was cute. And I think she did a couple of one-offs here and there. But Punch, where's the album, bro? And now Kendrick's want to leave TDE. after 17 years with the label. And this upcoming album is his last album with TDE. I don't know what's going on, but they need to get it together. Because the rest of them fools on the roster can't hold up TDE. But, we'll see. But yeah, I'm never forgiving y'all for paying King's Disease to dust. Had a whole Icon drop an album this year. And y'all ain't said boo about it.
The tea is exceptionally good today. Who made this? Very delicious.
This is the I Refuse podcast. This is Mr. Fox. I will catch y'all later.